Francisco. This will be their first in-person talks in more than a year. You can see the motorcade carrying President Xi pulling up there outside San Francisco. This is being called the Woodside Summit by the White House. Let's watch here.
Doors, ready, pop.
And there he is, President Xi of China. The two leaders have known each other for decades, and President Biden, of course, greeting him. Today's meeting expected to last more than 4 hours. President Biden, of course, hoping to rebuild this strained relationship between the U.S. and China amid mounting tensions and deep mistrust between the countries. Both leaders, quite frankly, need this. The White House hoping to reestablish lines of military communication with China. Among the many issues on the table today as they wave there to the cameras and turn now walking into the estate, they'll be discussing the economic competition between the world's two largest economies. Also, the U.S. has growing concerns over China's military aggression targeting Taiwan, while China wants to ensure the U.S. will not support Taiwan's independence. Of course, there are also two major conflicts to address: Israel's war against Hamas, China's ties to Iran in this, along with the war in Ukraine and President Xi's recent meeting with Vladimir Putin. Let's bring in our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, also in Woodside, just outside San Francisco. Mary, you saw the image there moments ago. Both leaders wanted that image to be seen by the world.
And David, when you look at that greeting, it's hard not to think about all of the meticulous planning that went into that. This is a high stakes and highly choreographed meeting between these two leaders. This is the first time they are meeting, the first time they are even talking in a year. And it comes as President Biden is really trying to reshape this complicated and consequential relationship amid this time of really mounting tension. We are told that the two leaders are now expected to meet for over 4 hours, and they are going to discuss a wide range of issues, as you note, including managing growing economic competition, tensions in Taiwan, China's military aggression, also, of course, the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. But the White House has been rather blunt. You should not expect any major announcements to come of this. They have been setting expectations. One thing the president is hoping to come away from this meeting with is a promise to restore those military-to-military communications that were severed last year by the Chinese. The president says, look, he wants to be able to pick up the phone. He wants to be able to speak directly to the Chinese in case they come into any times of crisis. We saw that during that incident with that Chinese spy balloon when the Pentagon tried to reach out and simply no one picked up the phone in China. They weren't able to get in touch with their Chinese counterparts. The goal here is to restore those lines of communication, David, so that they can prevent any future conflict.
That was an extraordinary moment seen by the world, that balloon flying over North America, over the U.S., and the fact that when the Pentagon reached out to China's military, they simply didn't pick up the phone.
They didn't. And David, you know, the president later said that, in fact, President Xi wasn't fully read in on that incident. He didn't realize that that spy balloon, that vessel was there. Something the president said was a deep embarrassment for President Xi. The Chinese, of course, also have a lot riding on this meeting. This comes at a time of a real, economic strain in China. Part of the message that President Xi is trying to send here is that China is open for business as he faces rising unemployment, a slowdown in foreign investment. So both leaders here, David, have a lot at stake.
Again, we're looking at those pictures just moments ago. Mary, thank you. That's President Xi being greeted by President Biden just outside San Francisco in Woodside, California. Just moments ago again, and as Mary points out, these two leaders will be talking about economic competition between these two countries. Of course, China's relationship also with Russia and Iran, giving these two world conflicts we're watching unfold: Israel's war with Hamas, and of course Ukraine fighting it back against the Russia invasion now for quite some time, and of course the recent meeting between President Xi and Vladimir Putin. So a lot on their plate, as Mary just reported. They're expected to meet for some 4 hours today in California, and these two leaders have quite a history together, having spent many visits together, many hours together before, traveling some 17,000 miles together during their trips, according to the White House and according to President Biden. They meet again today, 4 hours, to discuss the U.S. and China, the relationship that has been very strained as of late, and whether or not they can do anything to manage that as we move forward. Our coverage continues on ABC News Live, abcnews.com, and of course, I'll be back with Mary and the entire team for World News Tonight a little later today. I'm David Muir in New York. We'll see you then.
This has been a special report from ABC.